So I went up and he looked me in the eye and he said, some teachers require that you have the only one teacher. And he said, this humble teacher requires that you have as many teachers as your life requires you to have. And he stared me in the eye and wham, tapped me on my third eye, and I swear, if you could see me in the movies, there would be electricity all around me.
I just want to share very quickly my lineage of training in energy work. I started formally, actually, I look way back, I started a long time ago, as long as I could speak. My grandmother took care of me a lot, and she spent a lot of time in a Buddhist temple across the street, and I grew up playing in the gardens of a Buddhist temple. I just learned through osmosis and didn't even know it. And then I went to a Christian school set up by Anglican missionaries in Malaysia, where I read the Bible as text and used to represent school for academic Bible knowledge quizzes. Then I married a Methodist. However, I spent a lot of time studying other religions and Buddhism. So one day somebody asked me, how would you define spirituality? I was in some kind of academic discussion. And when it came to me, I had never considered that question before. But Spirit must have got through me. And I said, wow, is this very simple? Spirituality is like the moonlight. And religions like the man, and I mean the male kind, man-made boxes that we create to try to capture a moonbeam. And even if you do capture a moonbeam, you have no more than one moonbeam. Wouldn't it be easier if we threw away all the boxes and bask in the moonlight and call it what it is? Whatever you want to call it is fine with me. But you got to believe if you don't, it's going to cost you more. Bottom line. All right. So this was a picture taken a couple years ago when I got to a point in my practice where I said, well, Steve, we don't have to work anymore. And I'm tired, sometimes you teach students who don't want to learn, blah, 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 blah. So I was going to retire and go do something else. I can always sell shoes. People have feet. I always have this idea, if I want something else to do, I can always sell shoes. Besides, I will be guaranteed of the shoes I like. Right? Feet don't get fat, folks. That's what Shane said. Feet don't get fat. That's why women buy shoes all the time. All right. So anyway, I was in one of my qigong trainings, and the day after the training was our big international qigong meetings, and the teacher said, I have at my home right now 8 Tibetan monks. When my qigong master was meditating in a cave in China years ago, he had this vision he was going to meet this monk, but year after year after year, he never met him. And then that year, somebody called him and said, hey, do you have room to house 8 Tibetan monks? The Dalai Lama is sending these 8 monks because one of them has to go to the Mayo Clinic for treatment. He was injured in a car accident. And this was a very special monk. Ling Rinpoche is physically in this lifetime 29 years old, but he was identified by the Dalai Lama as the 7th incarnation of his teacher. And so he was sent to the Mayo Clinic for treatment. And so the monks were very grateful and said, for your opening, allow us to come and give a blessing. So I was really excited. I'm going to get up early, I'm going to sit in the front row. Have you ever heard Tibetan monks chant? Yes. The vibration is phenomenal. So I got front row seats, and they showed up and they did this wonderful chant, and then they left. And we started the class. During break, I went to the women's room, and I almost bumped into them because they didn't go home, they went to eat at the restaurant at the hotel. And I was very embarrassed, almost bumped into one of them, and I apologized. And went to the women's room. As I was standing there, it was like this voice said, Kweethai, are you nuts? You're standing here to wait to pee? There's important things, important people out there. So something moved me to turn around, run back out. have no clue what I was going to do. I just knew I had to leave that line to go pee. So they were standing outside the Crown Plaza. It was pouring rain. And I went up and gave reverence because you don't directly approach a monk of that stature. And I said, I would like a word with the Rinpoche. He heard me and he came over and he touched me, which is rather unusual. He put his hand on my shoulder and said, "You want to speak to me?" And I said, "Yes." And all of a sudden we were like in a trance, engaged in this conversation, and I clearly don't remember what we talked about, but we talked like we were old chums. And when we were done, I asked if I could have a picture taken. And I looked up, and there were all these people, and the official photographer for the conference was snapping with his big Nikon. What's going on? And then when it was done, and I wanted to say thank you, he pulled me forward, and he bumped my third eye twice with his third eye.
Wow.
I had no idea what happened. So went back. As I was walking back in the hotel, some woman stopped me and said, "Stop." I said, "Okay." Bump my head. She said, I said, "I want some of that energy." So all day long, people were bumping my head. I had no idea the significance of that event until in the evening, after dinner, we do a very long meditation sit. And I found myself a corner on the floor and I did the long sit. And he came into my consciousness. So somehow we have a very familiar sense with each other. And he's very cute and he speaks perfect English. And I said, "Hey, why did you bump my head twice? What's the meaning of this?" And he smiled and his face just faded away with a smile, like, "You know what it is." So after that experience, my work took on a whole new level. Came home and immediately I was able to help a woman who has IBS for 40 years, just like that. And it's a whole new world. And suddenly I realized the message was, Kweethai, you're not going to quit yet. In fact, there's a new mission, and that is to merge qigong with hypnotherapy. Because in qigong, we are working in the same space. We are working in the same space. In hypnosis, we are working in the same space. Clients come to you, they're already in open eye trance. You don't have to go dingle-dangle. I actually bought one of these watches from Walmart because a client asked me. I said, "If you like, here's a $9.95 watch, you can get one too." I don't need to use one of these things. Because we work from the gut. We work from your lower dantian. We work from your soul. And so the minute somebody enters your space, they are already in trance. If you did your pre-talk right, which is my talk tomorrow, come listen to that. If you did your pre-talk right, they already walk into your office in trance. There's no need for a waste of time, fancy inductions. This is my feng shui master, the Grandmaster. He's also a Tibetan monk, and he has passed on now, and he's Rinpoche Lin Yun. And I'll tell you the story about him someday. Again, a very mystical experience, a very unusual experience I had with him. And the calligraphy that you'll see following his works, and you can see, you don't even have to read Chinese to see the power in the brush strokes. So, here's me. I know when most of my students already tell me I walk on water, but now I can walk on fire. And he is walking on broken glass, right? The work I do now is very different from the work of my teachers. So I'm going to say that each of you will do your energy healing work in each of your unique way. The only way to go about doing your best work is to constantly
cultivate and learn from your experiences, take lessons from as many different teachers as you can. When Grandmaster Lin adopted my third eye a long time ago, I had to go up to the stage and he was in his beautiful Tibetan regalia. And my friends pushed me up there because they were scared. And I had no idea what was going to happen anyway. So I said, well, I might as well get it over with. That's me. Right, a coward dies 1,000 deaths before the real event. So I went up and he looked me in the eye and he said, some teachers require that you have the only one teacher. And he said, this humble teacher requires that you have as many teachers as your life requires you to have. And he stared me in the eye and wham, tapped me on my third eye, and I swear, if you could see me in the movies, there would be electricity all around me. I felt like a zombie. I felt like a bolt of lightning. Of course, I've never been struck by lightning.
Oh.
I won't be standing here, but I felt this huge surge of electric power go through my body. It might have been something you've experienced, a little bit of that. And I just stood there, and the only thing I could remember is that I knew my life has been changed. That at that time I was a university professor, so what the heck is this? But I knew deep in my soul that something happened that day. I didn't know what. But something also told me that there was nothing to be afraid of either. So I have worked in situations where I actually deal with entities. I have had a whole entity appear in front of me in my therapy room while I was working with a client. And I have since done many facilitations of crossing over. And people are trapped between worlds. And there's nothing to be afraid of. If you stay clear and you stay pure. You saw a picture of me walking on hot coals, and that is not a Photoshop. And people say, how do you do that? And I also know that people who walk with the wrong intentions will get burnt. And I have seen people get burnt. So it's all about good intentions.